everyone, it's Tina from Frugal, Fun, and Fabulous, and I'm here tonight to bring you one of my favorite recipes in the whole entire world, and that is fajitas. I'm going to show you how to make a super simple, quick, and easy marinade. We're going to be making steak fajitas tonight, and I'm also going to make a small side of guacamole and a little Pico De Gallo to go with it. It's going to be awesome. Stick with me. Okay, so for this recipe, we're going to need quite a few things. The first thing here is I've got a little sirloin tip steak. Typically in fajitas you use flank steak or skirt steak, but tonight I'm going to be using the sirloin tip, which was on sale. I'm also going to need some onions. I've got them chopped two different ways. It's actually just one onion, but this one I've got kind of chunked up into large pieces because this is going to go into our marinade, and this one I've got diced into very, very fine pieces because this is going to go into our Pico De Gallo. For spices, we're going to need some chipotle and cumin. We're also going to need some garlic. Here I've got the jarred garlic. If you have fresh, obviously that's fine. You could even use powder in this recipe, that's fine too. Salt and pepper, and some cooking oil. I also picked up these chopped cilantro cubes in the freezer section at my local grocery store. Now what these are is basically cilantro that's just been kind of ground up and frozen in these little cubes so that you can pop them into recipes. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's actually a really cool thing. I always buy like a whole bunch of cilantro when I'm doing, say, fajitas or something like that, and then half of it ends up going to waste. And as you can see, we've used about a third of this package, maybe almost a half of this package already, and it's been really convenient to have in the freezer because nothing's going to waste, and it's just fresh herbs that are just, you know, chopped up and frozen and into these little cubes. So it's been really awesome to have on hand. The next thing is I have this bag of pepper stir-fry mix. This is just red, green, and yellow bell peppers with onions sliced up in it. This is for, you know, typical for fajitas. I also have an avocado that's ripe, 2 limes, a lemon, 2 tomatoes. I have some spicy Monterey Jack cheese, some flour tortillas. You can also use corn. It just depends on your preference. And then you're also going to need for this either a food processor or a blender. I'm going to be using here this small drink size blender to make this because if there's just 2 of us, I don't need a whole lot of marinade, so this is what I'm using. Let's get started. First thing that you're going to want to do is take that half an onion that we have just roughly chopped and put that right into your blender like this. The next step is going to be adding in your citrus. I've got here a lemon and a lime. I'm using 1 lemon and 1 lime just because I love them both equally. You want to go ahead and take those fruits, and what I've done already is microwave these for 10 seconds each, and then I also took them and I rolled them on the counter pretty hard with my hand, the palm of my hand like this, just to kind of release some of the juices that are inside and make them a little easier to juice. Alright, so go ahead and just juice both of those right in. And if you guys are looking for measurements for this recipe, I will post it on my blog, which will be linked down below. And you can get the exact measurements, the amount of meat that I used, all of that stuff. Another tip when you're juicing citrus, lemons actually is the only one, the limes don't have any seeds, but for the lemons there's a lot of seeds in there, so hold them upright like this and kind of juice them. I take a fork just like this and just kind of rub it back and forth, and as you can see, the juice kind of releases there and it goes in, and I try to minimize the amount of seeds I get in there because if you do get them in there, you will need to pick them back out. And onto our lime, and these are a lot harder to juice, guys. I'll show you the difference, and like I said, this one doesn't have seeds, but as you can see, it doesn't yield very much juice at all. That's another reason I like to use the lemon in this recipe because they yield typically a lot more juice than a lime will. But go ahead and squeeze it just like this with a fork as hard as you can. There's no seeds in there, so you don't have to worry about that. And then you have all these kind of little furry things here. It's like the pieces of citrus that are kind of hanging out the side. I like to just go ahead and scrape those right in. So now that I've got the limes and lemons both juiced in there, I'm going to actually take a microplane and just give it the marinade a little bit of lime zest. And when you do that, you want to make sure that you're getting just the green part of the lime and not the white pith because that's very, very bitter. Okay, now that we've got the lemons and limes juiced in there along with the half of an onion that we have roughly chopped, I'm going to be adding about a tablespoon of garlic in there. This is just chopped garlic. I've got here some cumin and chipotle, about half a teaspoon of each of those. Next we're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Next we're going to be adding some of this chopped cilantro. Again, these are the frozen cubes that I got in the grocery store. I'm going to put, for this, maybe 3. 1 cube equals 1 teaspoon. So yeah, I'm going to put 3 in there. I think that's good. I really like cilantro. Then I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of cooking oil. You can use olive oil, vegetable oil, coconut oil, any kind of oil that you have on hand or that you like. This is actually olive oil. Now's the fun part. We get to blend it up. Alright, here we go, guys. Alright guys, we are all set. Our mixture, our marinade is all blended up and it is going to be super duper delicious. It smells like heaven in here. I can't even tell you how good this smells. I'm so excited. Alright, let's move on to the meat. Alright guys, so now we're going to be moving on to the meat. So again, I bought here some sirloin steaks. They're cut very, very thinly, and that's intentional because I wanted to have them thin for our fajitas. So what I'm going to do is show you how to trim these up. Again, typically you would use like skirt steak or flank steak in this recipe, but sirloin works just fine as well. So what you want to do is take your meat and find the grain. So the grain runs on this slice of meat particularly this way, so what I'm going to do is cut against that grain. And the reason that I do that is because if you cut it with the grain, it'll be really, really chewy and hard to eat. So what I want to do is cut against the grain so that when you bite into the meat, the fibers actually break apart a little bit easier. We're going to cut these into maybe 1/2 inch strips, and I'll show you exactly what they're going to look like as soon as I cut a couple here. Cut them into strips about like this, maybe this width, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. And I've got my little bowl here. As you're going along, as you can see in the middle of the meat here, we've got some like fibrous tissue. You want to definitely take that out. You don't want to put that into your fajitas. That's not going to be easy to eat. It's going to become very tough once you cook it. So cut that part out. But I'm going to finish cutting all of this meat, and once that's done, I'll come back and I'll show you how to marinate it, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now all of my steak is cut into strips kind of like this. I don't know if you guys can see, but they're, like I said, 1/2 to 1 inch strips. Not 1 inch, but 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch strips. So we're ready to put our marinade on. So just go ahead and take all of that marinade, pour it right over the steak. Ooh, it smells so good, guys. I cannot wait to eat this for dinner. I'm so excited. Then we just want to make sure that all of the meat is evenly coated in the marinade. Next thing you want to do is pop this in the fridge. You can leave this actually for overnight. It's probably the best amount of time to do it. I don't have that much time today, so I'm going to be putting it in for about an hour, but I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to be making with our fajitas in the meantime. My mouth is like watering right now. I'm so hungry. This is so exciting. I'm going to put this in the fridge, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright guys, I'm back. So our meat is marinating in the fridge, and next we're going to be making our Pico De Gallo and our very, very simple guacamole. So the first thing we're going to be making is our Pico De Gallo. And what we're going to need for that is actually one of those cilantro cubes that I had earlier for the meat marinade. I've actually just thrown it into this bowl and let thaw out a little bit. It's been in here for about 10 minutes. It's pretty thawed. I can easily squash this with a fork, so no problem. But that's the first thing we're going to need. And once again, that equals 1 teaspoon of cilantro. Next thing is our onions. This is about 1/2 an onion, maybe a little bit less than that, just very, very finely chopped. The next thing that we're going to need is 2 ripe tomatoes. We're just going to finely dice those about the same size as the onion. Now that that's done, we've got 1/2 of a lime, well, we've got a whole lime here. I'm going to be using 1/2 of it for the Pico De Gallo and 1/2 of it for the guacamole. So again, just roll this on the counter. I've already microwaved this for about 10 seconds. Just roll it as hard as you can and squeeze it right into that pico. If you have jalapeno, or if you do like spicy food, feel free to add anything that you want spicy to this as well. This is so simple, guys, but it's so fresh and delicious. It just adds like such a freshness to the fajita. You're going to absolutely love it. Now we're on to our very, very simple guacamole. So I like my guacamole pretty simple, and that's because when I was a kid, my dad used to serve us like steak with just literally a side of sliced avocado, a little bit of olive oil, and some salt. It's like the best thing in the whole world. Avocados are actually, believe it or not, my favorite food. If there was one food that I had to pick out of any food in the world to eat forever, it would be avocados. I don't know why, and there's something about them that I just absolutely love. They're so creamy and delicious. So the way we prepare this is very, very simply. Just take the avocado and cut it in half. And in the middle of the avocado, quite similar to, say, a mango, I'm trying to think of another fruit. I can't really think of one, but there's a huge pit inside, and I will show you guys in just 1 second. So I just literally took my knife and ran it around the avocado just like that and twisted it apart like this, and in the inside you can see there's a big pit right here. Don't throw that away yet. Alright guys, so what you want to do is just stick your knife into the pit just like that. I just gave it a little jab with my hand. Be extremely careful, guys. It's a little bit dangerous. If you are, I don't know, if you're not a novice with knives, please, please, please be very, very careful. I don't want anybody to get hurt doing this, but just go ahead and stick your knife in your pit like that. It'll go right through the middle, and then take it and just give it a twist. Just like that, and the pit will pop right out. As you can see, we've got our 2 halves of avocado right here. This is just one avocado, but as you can see, it's a beautiful, beautiful green-yellow color inside. Then we've also still got our 1/2 a lime. Then we saved this half from the Pico De Gallo that we made. Just some salt and pepper and a little bit of garlic. So let's get started on this guacamole. So what I want you to do is take a smaller knife and cut into the avocado kind of like this. I'm sorry that I don't have a zoom on this camera, But what you want to do is make slices into the avocado, not going through the skin at all. Just barely touching it. Avocado fruit, if you haven't had it before, again, is very soft once it's ripe. So you'll be able to easily do this, and the skin is very thick, so it'll protect your hand, but just be careful, be very careful not to cut too deeply into it because you don't want to poke yourself. That would not be good. Alright, just do that to both of the halves. What we're doing here is making horizontal slits, and then we're going to make some diagonal slits just like this. Or vertical slits, I'm sorry, not diagonal. The reason that we do it that way is because when we take our fork, or a spoon actually, just like that, we can scrape this out of the skin and put it right into our bowl, and it falls into like kind of like little chunks. I can show you here. Just this size is what comes out of it once you do it that way, and it's a lot easier to mash up. Now we've got our avocado in the bowl. It's in little dices just like this. The next thing that you want to do is super simple, guys, is just season this with some lemon juice. Again, this also, avocados are one of those fruits, it's kind of like, I guess, bananas. You couldn't like cut a banana and leave it out on the counter all day because it'll turn brown, it'll oxidize. Avocado is exactly the same way. The citric acid in the lime will prevent the avocado from turning brown. Now we're going to add a little bit of garlic. I'm going to use for one avocado about maybe half a teaspoon or so, just like that. Just take all of this together and mash it up with a fork. It's super easy. Okay guys, so I've got our avocados nice and squished up in there. This is now actually guacamole, so check it out. The final step to this guacamole is going to be taking this pit that we took out of the fruit earlier and putting it right back in the center of the guacamole. And then I'm going to take a small spoon and cover the pit as much as I can with it. The reason I do that is because it keeps the guacamole, in addition to the lime, it keeps it from turning brown. And I'm just going to stick this right in my fridge, and I'm going to keep it in there until we are ready to serve our fajitas. The next step is going to be frying up our onion pepper mix. This is the frozen mix, and I put a little bit of cooking oil down on the bottom of the pan. And what you want to do is go ahead and let these fry up a little bit. You want them a little bit kind of golden brown. It's going to take a while because there's a lot of moisture in this pan. So as you can see, it's steaming quite a bit. So just go ahead and throw those in and fry them up, and then I will show you guys what the next step's going to be, and that's going to be cooking the meat. Okay guys, so now our vegetables have a beautiful caramelization on them. I don't know if you can see how this is. It looks a little bit burnt, but it smells absolutely fantastic. The next step is frying our meat. I'm going to put this in just like that. You want a very hot pan because it's going to cook super duper quickly. Let that cook for like maybe 50 seconds, and then go in there and flip it around, and we'll do the next batch. Okay, it's been about 45 seconds. Our meat is ready to flip, so I'm just going to go ahead and flip these pieces over. Try to get them cooked as evenly as possible. So there you have it. There's my fajita recipe. I am going to show you exactly how to assemble one. So basically what you do, I've actually put the peppers in with the meat here, and you just take a little bit of that. I took these tortillas and actually wrapped them in a wet paper towel and microwaved them for about 10 seconds a piece, I guess, roughly. So about like that. And then I like to put the cheese on next. Looks like the cheese to melt a little bit. And then it's free game, whatever you want from there. Here's our pico that we made earlier. Yummy, yummy. Just like that. And then a little bit of guacamole. This is hubby's fajita, so he only gets a little bit because I like to steal all the rest of the guacamole. Alright, just like that. And a little bit of sour cream. Alright guys, so there you have it. That is my fajita recipe. If you do like my recipes, please do subscribe, and I will be bringing you lots more. Once again, I'd like to thank all of my subscribers. I do appreciate you guys all being here very much, and I will see all of you soon. I'm going to go eat this yummy fajita with hubby. Have a great night. Bye!